Okay, so we're recording. Um, Yesterday, after I made that video about Styx and Anomaly, um, I ended up meeting what I am convinced are two different espionage agents from the Communist Chinese Party, the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. We'll just call it the CCP from now on. The CCP has about 2.5 million espionage agents worldwide, and they focus on espionage because they know that if it comes down to a conflict, they're not going to win. They have to focus on espionage because their military is weak for a couple of reasons. Firstly, their military is comprised of only children. They are spoiled brats. They don't put up very well with suffering and violence. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if 90% of the Chinese military surrendered on a first engagement in a conflict. You know, you point a gun at them, or they get their boots a little muddy, and they'll start flipping out because that's what only children do. Also, the equipment that the Chinese use in their military, it's mostly knockoffs. It's cheap knockoffs that made using stolen designs and very poor engineering. Okay, it's just like everything else that the Chinese make. You don't know if it's gonna fall apart or if it's gonna hold together. Like you get a plane from the Chinese. You don't know if it's gonna fall apart on the runway while you're trying to take off. You don't know if it's gonna fall apart in midair. Hell, you might be able to land the damn thing. Unlikely though, not likely. And the Chinese know that they're weak, and that's why they focus on espionage. Um, the Chinese economy has grown faster than any other economy on Earth. If you actually pay attention, the reason why this is because they are constantly engaging in these ridiculous building construction projects. In 2006, they built the world's largest mall, and it is the world's largest mall. But there's never been more than 3 vendors in the mall. What good is a mall if there's no one in it? You know? That's an abandoned mall. And if you actually look at the damn thing, it's falling apart. No one takes care of it. It's crumbling in most places. It's not open. It's not valuable. It's just garbage concrete with 3 places that kind of have some value. And those 3 places are not, big name brand companies, which, the communists promised. Then, there's all sorts of water parks and amusement parks and hotels and casinos and resorts that are all abandoned and crumbling and falling to pieces because they built these things up, marked them down on their GDP, and never touched them again. There are around 80 cities the size of New York which are empty because the communists, the CCP, just keeps building cities and marking them down on their GDP as an increase, and then they don't touch them. There's no one living in them. You might, a couple of these cities, you might find like 3 or 4 people. You might find maybe 15 people in some of them, but there's no one there. You can't have a New York City to yourself, okay? That's not sustainable. And the Communist Party is getting very, very close to collapsing because of this. They did open up their economy in a couple of places. So they're more capitalist in some places. And but that's also, allowed more of their people to question them and to realize that their authoritarianism is a horrendous atrocity that shouldn't be obeyed. It should be opposed at every turn. And yeah, that's why there's protests in Hong Kong, in Beijing. It would be one thing if China was building these cities and moving them over, moving people out of like Beijing and Shanghai and Taiwan, or not Taiwan. Taiwan's the place that they want to invade, and they're not going to be able to invade. But it would be one thing if they were building these cities and moving people out of the cage homes. Go look up the videos of the cage homes if you don't know what that is. And moving them into these cities, but they're not doing that. They're leaving the cities empty. They're not even like, opening the cities up to tourists and inviting people over, being like, hey, come live in our cities. They're just building the cities and leaving them to rot. You know, if I dig a hole in the middle of a fucking garbage dump, does that mean that I have increased the value of the garbage dump? No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter how big the hole is. That's what the Chinese are doing. They're just digging a hole and making it bigger and saying that they're adding value when really they're not. And they are going to collapse within the next 3 years, and I think they know it. Which is why they're moving very quickly. Which is why they're pushing Biden. Which is why they pushed Biden into office. Thanks for watching. Peace.